In the forsaken town of Hollow Creek, the weight of betrayal clung to the air like a suffocating fog. Decades ago, beneath the jagged cliffs that loomed over the settlement, miners struck upon a relic buried deep in the earth. A relic said to pulse with an unholy energy. Fear swept through the town as whispers of witchcraft and dark omens spread like wildfire. The townsfolk, driven mad by paranoia, turned on the miners. A makeshift gallows was erected under the light of a blood-red moon, and the men were hanged amidst jeering cries, their pleas drowned by the frenzy. But the relic was never destroyed, and neither were the curses of the dead. The townspeople swore they could hear the creak of nooses swinging in the wind on moonless nights. Shadows flickered unnaturally along the cobblestones, and an icy chill crept into every home. The miners, it was said, had not truly left. They lingered in the veil between worlds, their restless souls bound to Hollow Creek by the town's unforgivable sin. Years turned to decades, and the tale of the miners became a legend, a cautionary tale to keep children from wandering into the woods. Yet, few dared speak of the shack on the outskirts of town, where the miners had once rested during their breaks. The shack had long since fallen into disrepair, but its door always hung slightly ajar, swaying in a wind that never touched the surrounding trees. On a cold, moonless night, a newcomer named Sarah arrived in Hollow Creek. Drawn by the macabre allure of the miner's tale, she roamed the empty streets, her footsteps echoing eerily in the silence. The town seemed abandoned, its windows dark, as if the buildings themselves were holding their breath. The pull of the legend led her to the edge of the woods, where the shack stood, its warped planks twisting like gnarled fingers. The door creaked open as she approached, a sound that cut through the oppressive stillness. It felt less like an invitation and more like a warning, but curiosity outweighed her growing unease. She stepped inside. The air was thick, heavy with the stench of mildew and something far older, something that stung her nostrils and made her stomach churn. The dim light of her flashlight revealed crude etchings carved into the walls. They depicted figures with anguished faces, their mouths open in silent screams. Beneath them, strange symbols spiraled in patterns that seemed to writhe and shift when she looked too long. The temperature plummeted. Her breath puffed in short, panicked bursts, clouding before her. Then, a sound. Faint at first, like the whisper of a breeze through a tunnel. It grew louder, a chorus of guttural moans and shouts. She spun around, the flashlight trembling in her grasp. They emerged from the shadows, wraith-like figures cloaked in darkness, their eyes glowing with an unnatural fire. Their forms were gaunt, their features distorted by agony and rage. One stepped forward, his face half obscured by a phantom noose that still seemed to tighten as he moved. His hand raised, pointing directly at her. "You will pay for the betrayal," the figure rasped, its voice a guttural echo that reverberated through her chest. "No!" Sarah stammered, stumbling backward. "It wasn't me. I don't even belong here." The specters pressed closer, their hands reaching out, skeletal fingers like daggers of ice. She could feel their fury, an unrelenting force pressing against her mind. Visions flooded her, of the gallows, of the rope tightening, of the relic glowing malevolently as their lives were extinguished. Terrified, Sarah bolted from the shack, her screams swallowed by the night. She didn't stop running until she reached the town square, where the wind howled like a chorus of tormented souls. Yet, even as she fled, she could feel them behind her, their eyes boring into her back, their whispers weaving into her thoughts. Long after she left Hollow Creek, their voices lingered in her mind. She couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. The shadows in her home seemed to move of their own accord, and always she could hear their final warning. The curse never forgets. The debt must be paid. Hollow Creek remained shrouded in darkness, its curse growing heavier with each passing year. The town was a monument to betrayal, its price exacted in fear and blood. A place where no soul could escape the haunting echoes of its past.